ooch fast right now.
An ooch fest.
Just a ooch, just
Okay.
an ooch. I'd like to welcome everybody to our regular meeting for the month of May. We have a very full house and standing room only, I guess, and lots of great recognition tonight. As we always do, we start with the pledge. Tonight we've got a group of students from River Valley, along with Principal Paul Offel. And say it again for me, Paul. I always mispronounce it. Offel. I was close enough. You're going to introduce these students to us, right?
Yes, sir.
Outstanding.
We are delighted to be here tonight. Dr. Allen Board, thank you for having us. Let me just first of all say it's been a great year at River Valley Middle School. The first of many years that come with the middle school. All thanks for a lot of work you did, so please enjoy a sweet treat from us. Nothing but cakes. You're welcome to like the flavor. You can share with others, arm wrestle, or whatever you do to get the one you like. But with me tonight is some students from our PALS program, led by Ms. Taylor Ellis, 2016 graduate of Midway High School, and she has done an outstanding job of leading our PALS program. She was at Powell Middle School and really has made PALS something of her own and adapted to our campus, so kudos to her. I'm going to let these students introduce themselves to you and tell you a little bit about PALS and release them.
My name is Margaret Ferguson, and one thing that I really enjoyed doing this year was I used to deliver conflict on teachers. My name is Elizabeth Willis, and through PALS, I like making posters for the teachers just to acknowledge their hard work and stuff that we do. And the overall PALS program, some of the things that we do, we go off campus. Overall, to make an impact in the community. Teachers, or for the custodians, or posters for the teachers, and acknowledging them for what they do.
Good job. Thank you. Well done. Well done. So before we start on recognition, let me just tell everybody, we got a lot of folks here tonight, a lot of really great recognition, as I said. We will take a brief pause when the recognition is done for those folks that, I know everybody's busy, particularly this time of year with school wrapping up just shortly, but a brief pause for people that want to go, need to go. Obviously, it's a public meeting. All of you are welcome to stay. We're delighted to have anybody that wants to stay. So with that, Jess Wheeler, we're going to start off with you, and then Dr. Allen's going to take over introducing the other folks up here that are going to do, because I'm going to come down there and stand and get the privilege of shaking a lot of folks' hands. Yes, you're up, sir.
So we're going to start recognitions tonight off with our Midway High School's BPA 12 national qualifiers who brought home first and second place medals in multiple events at the BPA national competition. Students, when I call your name, please come up in the front to receive your certificate and remain standing for a group picture. In the virtual media and promotion team event, Peter Burris and Ben Lloyd are national champions. Jackson Armstrong, Nick Collins, and Azaroth MacArthur won second place at Nationals. Azaroth and Jameson Parker were also named national champions in the BPA Ethics Awareness Video Challenge. In addition, Andrew Block, Kanan Miller, Gavin Millerick, and Zach Williams won second place in video production team event. Y'all go ahead and step all the way over. There you go. Also competing at Nationals were Brady Jacobs in Advanced Desktop Publishing, and Easton West in Banking and Finance. BPA sponsors who coached our national qualifiers are Jamie Corson, Jennifer Cobb, Dee Dee Moore, and Kyle Rogers. Congrats again to all of our BPA national qualifiers. Midway High School esports also continued to level up this year. Students Anthony Ho, Ryan Jones, and Aiden Witt were named to the 2023 High School Knockout City Champions. Unfortunately, I don't believe they were able to make it tonight, but Mr. Williams, their sponsor, is here. They had an impressive performance in the Texas Esports League Finals. And we are so proud of the accomplishments that they've had this year.
All right, Ms. Smith will introduce our state citizen bee. Exciting.
In her second trip to the Texas Citizen Bee competition, senior Grace Collins, so come on in, Grace. She won the third place and became the first Midway student ever to place at the state level in Citizen Bee. The Texas Citizen Bee is a statewide civic education program and competition hosted by the State Bar of Texas. Grace was named regional champion in March and competed against 19 other regional champions at state to earn a near-perfect score and place among the top 3 in the state. Grace is coached in the Citizen Bee by MHS teacher Sarah Baranowski. There's Ms. Baranowski. Congratulations.
Darrell Umhofer is going to talk to us about some VACE Award winners. Very exciting.
VACE, Visual Art Scholastic Event. Takes a little bit to get used to that. VACE is the UIL of the art world for us, and so we're very, very proud of these folks. 3 talented Midway High School art students advanced to the state level for VACE competition this year. And at the state level, Stella Raimondo made history as Midway's first ever Gold Seal recipient, which is the highest honor that VACE gives out. And here's a good number. 151 students received a Gold Seal out of 32,000 entries. Wow. top 1% of the high school artists in Texas. If you haven't seen her work, go see it or stop by the high school theater lobby. Additionally, Julie Aiken's exceptional artwork earned her a top score of 4, which is the highest rating available. And she also received a state medal. And Chloe Zeracor, I hope I got that right, showcased her remarkable talent as a state qualifier. We obviously have an incredible team of high school art teachers who invest lots of time in helping these students, and they are here. Caleb Bales, Kim Abercrombie, John Storm, and Mary Dunn. Picture time. Yay, one more time. In addition to high school vase, we also have junior vase, which is junior high and middle school. We have 7 Midway Middle School students enter their artwork in the junior vase competition this year, and every single student received highest possible scores. In this competition, each piece of art is given a rating from 1 to 4, with 4 representing the highest and excellent work, and they all received 4s. Lucas Horn, Emmy Parker, and Paige Presley all earned a rating of 4 and were awarded medals. And in junior vase, each piece of art that receives a rating of 4 advances to another round where the top 10% are awarded a platinum medal. In addition to receiving that rating of 4 on their artwork, Dana Ainsworth, Chloe Bernal, and Sarah Marzon, and Jeremy Ocampos were also each awarded the junior high platinum medal, which is equivalent to a state level in a high school contest. Midway, come on, come on, come on. And again, if you haven't had an opportunity, there is some artwork out in the lobby, and when I look at it, I'm just, wow, just in shock. Midway Middle School art teachers whose encouragement helped these students succeed are Sharon Bernard, Gretchen Lamborn, and Robert Reinerson.
You only can't see me in these, but there's a little gap.
I know I do. Yeah, we're ready. You can see my eyeballs. Not all the parents have done. Got to get the mom and dad shot.
Bless you. Okay. Brad Shelton, our athletic director, will bring us news from state tennis.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to announce our state tennis qualifying teams for this semester. Midway High School tennis wrapped up an outstanding season this year at the UIL State Tennis Tournament in San Antonio. These two teams were qualified in the 6A as two of the best, or one of the best 8 teams in the state of Texas 6A tennis. So very, very impressive. We have Izzy Hinahos. Cadence McCreary made history as the first Midway girls doubles team to play in the state tournament. Along with mixed double duo of Clay Gibson and Emma Ray, both teams finished impressive seasons as the 6A state quarterfinalists. Midway High School teams are coached by Coach Troy Simonet.
Congratulations.
We have many athletes to recognize this evening, and Lisa Cochran, our Director of Special Education, will be talking about our state UIL Unified Track and Field team.
Sorry, we got out of order up here. In the 30th year of Special Olympics at Midway, the high school UIL Unified Track and Field team demonstrated the profound impact of the program, winning first place at the regional meet and advancing to compete at the state level. As a branch under Special Olympics, unified teams include special education athletes and general education partners, training and competing together in the same events. The athletes are held to the exact same standards and rules as athletes in traditional UIL track and field meets. Midway's state qualifying athletes and their partners competed in the 100-meter dash, 400 dash, 4x100 relay, long jump, and shot put. Congratulations to these athletes and their partners. Students, when I call your name, please come up to the front to receive your certificate and remain standing for a group picture. Philip Autry, Jacob Brown, Cole Copus, Mason Daniel, Addison Gallo, Devontae Portis, Madeline Potts, Nikolai Seibel. Partners, Caleb Butler, Reagan Corley, Bennett Delozier, Tyler Delozier, Madeline McRae, Elaine Serato, Catherine Sparks, and Riley Tilsley. Also, working diligently behind the scenes to make this year's success possible was student manager DQ Portis, buddies Bryn Simsick and Catherine Willis, along with head coach Jordan Baugh, assistant coach Julie Potts, coaches Veronica Pfeiffer, Renee Tilsley, and chaperone Roger Slayton. Please join your students at the front for a photo, please. I would love to do that.
Ms. Smith, you're back at the mic.
Yes. We'd like to recognize one more outstanding Midway High School student, senior Shiroz Kazani. And Shiroz is being honored as the Youth Citizen of the Year by the Rotary Club of Waco for embodying their motto, service above self. 22 students from area high schools were nominated for the award, and Shiroz earned the top honor along with a $4,000 scholarship. She was a standout among the other applicants due to her leadership skills and community involvement, and we congratulate her on this well-deserved honor. Congratulations.
Okay. Dr. Knudsen will be, there's a lot of initials here. I'm going to let her talk about it, but we have an outstanding faculty member we're going to recognize.
I had to ask how to pronounce that acronym, but the good news is I don't have to.
That's right.
Tonight, I have the privilege of recognizing Midway High School chemistry teacher Crystal Moose. Crystal, come on up. Crystal has been named a state finalist in the 2023 Presidential Awards for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. It's a mouthful, but it's a very prestigious award in the highest recognition for K-12 math and science teacher, and for her to receive this is just very incredible. It's an honor that reflects her exceptional dedication and skills as a science educator that I can personally, as a parent, attest to because my daughter is in her class. And I'm so blessed and incredibly honored to be able to share that recognition with you tonight. Congratulations.
Sweet. All right. And Dr. Clint Glazeman, principal of Castleman Creek Elementary School, will be coming up to visit with us about an outstanding teacher on his campus.
Well, it is my distinct honor to get to recognize a very special teacher on our campus. From the day she stepped foot here, she has just been a natural, but she's also our Teacher of the Year. But she is also a state finalist for the HEB Excellence in Education Award. So please welcome Miss Stacy Spink. Can I hop in, Jacob?
So before we take that brief pause, I want to say something lots of you already know about. I thought a lot about how to say this, and I'm not sure there's any good way, but many of you already know we lost a very, very special person recently, Dr. Jeannie Johnson. She was an assistant soup here at the district, and when I say we lost, Midway lost, her family lost, the community lost. To say that she was an incredible person and an outstanding educator, and it just, I could go on about her for a long time, having worked with her in so many regards, and it just wouldn't be right to have a recognition and not acknowledge that, and a brief moment of silence, if we could, for her and her family. Thank you. We'll take that brief pause now for anybody that still needs to leave, and then we'll resume with our agenda. Yes, yes, lots of stuff to sign.
Thank you for that, Chief.
Lots. Oh,
Dr. Allen, was that Tracy that put together the in memoriam? That was beautiful. She did a great job. Beautifully done. Beautifully written and a beautiful person. Yes. It was on. Yeah.
yes. That guy always asks all the questions, man.
Just like to hear himself talk. You can't have all one and all or all the other. That's true. You gotta mix it up a little bit.
That is true.
We're going to send it out. It's the 28th, slow rise.
28th, okay.
The one here at Hugh, our slow rise?
Yeah, I believe so.
I was terribly afraid we'd be gone if it,
Yeah, I was afraid it was this weekend.
yeah.
They walked it around full, but say Sunday the 28th? Sunday the 28th? That's gonna be the 28th.
Right, for sure.
The service Virginia.
Oh, I don't know.
We'll see. It's just tough. It's just, anyway, it's the 28th.
Of May?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's Sunrise Pizza. We're gonna send that out in the Friday update. Y'all can.
Very good, very good, very good. Okay, so moving on our agenda, we've got consideration of election matters, administer oath of office to the newly elected and declared trustees. Ms. Vick said she wanted to do it down there, so we're going down there.
Oh, okay. We always go down there. That's what we always do. Let Susan be Susan.
We're gonna wear robes.
That's right. We're gonna have that conversation after.
That's another conversation.
Man, I thought we'd get out without having that conversation.
If we're gonna come
Raise your right
on
hand.
this board, it's about what you wear.
In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas. I. State your name. Do solemnly swear. That I will faithfully execute the duties of the office. Of the Midway ISD Board of Trustees. Of the state of Texas. And will to the best of my ability. Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. And laws of the United States and of this state. So help me God. Yay.
And they're back.
That was close.
And you're back.
They didn't? So, under the education code, the board is required after an election, or in this case, not having an election, as it were, to reorganize, which we have president, vice president, and secretary. So, without further ado,
I nominate Pete Russick, president.
you can't do that. I didn't open nominations yet.
Trying to keep
Technically, you're not the president.
All right. Any further nominations? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. That guy's elected president. We'll open the nominations for the office of vice president.
Nominate Susan Vick.
Have a nomination for Ms. Vick. Any other nominations for vice president? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ms. Vick, congratulations. You're Vice President. Thank you. And last on our officer list, the office of Secretary. We'll open nominations for that at this time.
I nominate Ms. Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Witt. Any other nominations for Secretary? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Ms. Watts. You are Secretary, and appreciate y'all's service as both Vice President and Secretary.
And we appreciate your service as president all these years.
Thank you. I feel like I got railroaded, but that's okay.
You get railroaded every year. Nothing new.
Any questions on the information item that we have? And if not, then we will take up the monthly finance report with Wesley.
Good evening, President Russick, members of the board. Let's look at our April financial report. So the first page here of the report is the statement of general fund revenues and expenditures through the month of April. That first column, just to remind you, is our amended budget. So any amendments that the board has approved and adopted throughout the year are included in that first column. The actual year-to-date column is the actual revenues and expenses that have been booked on our general ledger on a cash accounting basis through the month of April. And these amounts differ from the last page of the report, which is the projection. The last page of the report, the first column, budgeted column, is the original adopted budget. So that's why those numbers differ from the first column in this report, which includes the amendments. And then the second column in that last report, of course, is the projection of general fund revenues and expenditures. But we just each month like to kind of compare where we are at the end of this month compared to the prior year month at the same for the same month. Our revenue, as you can see, they were already over 100%, a little over 100% of what we budgeted for the year. Tax revenue, interest revenue increases are part of that. Expenditure side, our total expenditures were a little higher at 68% than last year at this time, about 65%. The main function, you see the expenditures are categorized by function that I look at is instruction, function 11. Of course, that's where the majority of our teacher salaries and instructional materials are. That's 60% of our entire budget. So we're a little higher there, 66% than last year's at this time, 64%. One that kind of sticks out, you may have noticed, is function 51, which is plant maintenance. We're at 81% of the current budget versus like last year we were at 64%. A lot of that is due, if you remember a couple of months ago, we moved some of our, we were paying, using ESSER funds to pay a lot of salaries, and we moved those to the general fund and decreased our function 51 budget to move utilities into that ESSER fund. So that amended budget shrunk quite a bit, so that's why the 81% is high. But over the next few months, as we progress through the fiscal year, that'll become a little less disproportionate to the other functions. Moving on to page 4 of the report, we do have our updated ADA and WADA numbers that incorporate the fifth 6 weeks. Sorry, let Carolyn pull it back up. But on that fourth page there, you can see our projected ADA is 8136, and our budget for the year was 8042. So we're higher than budgeted, which is good. It's about 10 ADA higher than last month's projection, but prior to the incorporation of the fifth 6 weeks of data. The WADA is, of course, the main determinant there, and we increased 20 from last month's projection. Our projected WADA is at 10,512, which is higher than what we budgeted at 10,236. And those ADA and WADA numbers, of course, generate more state aid for us, and those are incorporated in the last page of the financial report on page 12 of the projection of general fund revenues and expenditures for the year. Kind of the middle heading there of the revenue section, state revenue, you see the per capita and foundation projecting almost $9.5 million. It's $150,000 more than last month's because of that increase in WADA and ADA. Our total projected deficit for the year is just under $2.4 million. And again, those amounts do include all of the budget amendments that have been adopted year to date. Additionally, for next year's budget, we have received all our budget submissions and requests for next year. Cindy Pointer and I have been going through those and verifying, making sure everything looks good, and kind of taking our scissors out here and there and cutting some things back initially where we can. Next month, we'll have our first kind of preliminary look at our fiscal year 24 budget. It'll incorporate the TASB salary recommendations that was approved last month. We'll also have a clearer picture of revenue estimates after the legislature hopefully wraps things up at the end of this month. There's been a little drama going on in Austin, a lot of kind of backroom negotiation, and some kind of crazy things have happened, vouchers and different things. I think the Senate kind of amended their voucher bill, maybe scale it back just for SPED students or students that attended campuses that had received failing grades. Governor didn't like that. He said if that comes across my desk, I'm going to veto it. We're going to go into special session. So you just never know. They'll hold different things, kind of ransom in order to kind of get what they want. So kind of anything can happen at this point. But hopefully we'll have a good idea next month of what our revenue projection looks like for next year. Any questions?
I just wanted to ask you on your projected budget for this year, have you heard from all the schools and everybody what their actual budget of what's left over? Are all those numbers in this projected amount of the part of their budget they didn't spend? Has everybody?
It is. So generally what I do, that's a good question for the current year projection. I kind of look at where we are, like that first page, as a percentage, but I also look at historically, kind of what in different budget lines, historically, how much do we spend each year? And some of them I can just kind of generally say, okay, this grouping of budgeted items, we may only spend, 95% in a given year. So I kind of use some historical averages in that, as well as just some unique instances or anomalies from the current year.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I've noticed our attendance is starting to creep back up closer to 96 again, so hopefully we're starting to turn the corner on that.
Hopefully so. Yes, really since COVID, I think people are more quick and apt just to stay at home. And so while our attendance percentage is still great, and across the state, a lot of districts would love to have that, it is a little lower than it has historically been for us, but hopefully we'll start to creep back up.
Wesley, on our net change number there, do you think that's going to stay about where it is for the remainder of our budget, or you anticipate it getting even better, or?
The 2.387?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I mean, generally, I'm a little conservative or, cautious. I mean, if I had to guess, I think it'll get a little better. I think our interest revenue will be higher. I'm always surprised every month as the rates keep going up. How much Cindy keeps booking for us on that, and also our taxes. We'll probably, I think, be a little higher there. So yeah, I think we'll probably do a little better than the 2.3.
Think it'll get down to close to 2, or just a little bit better?
I don't know. I don't want you to really pin me down here. I'm afraid this is recorded, and you'll bring it back up.
All right, fair enough.
How badly do you want it to?
Yeah, we'll have, yeah, absolutely. Other questions? Wesley? All right, very good. Thank you, sir. You're
a heck of a bake sale, Mr. Brooks.
Yeah. You're also up on our playground project, right?
Yes, sir. Okay, so just kind of start out, just to kind of bring everybody up to speed. I know we've discussed it before, but of course our 2020 bond program, $148 million total bond package. Of course, the facility planning committee presented to the board their recommendations on what projects to use that bond money on. And at this juncture, most projects are either complete or substantially complete. So we have a pretty good idea of where we sit. Fortunately, and this is unique to lots of districts that I've heard across the state that our architects have told us about, who passed bonds and couldn't, fulfill the bond program that they wanted to and had to go back to the voters. We have some leftover funds. So that's part of it is favorable variances in some of the projects, and also interest earnings. We really were fortunate in the timing of the bond. When we sold the bonds in early 2000, we received historically low interest rates, probably the cheapest borrowing cost the districts have ever had. But then since then, as we've held on to the proceeds, interest rates have gone up, and so now we're kind of gleaning the benefits there of the interest revenue. So with those two, the favorable variances and interest revenue, we have about $5.7 million is what I'm projecting, left over after we finish the projects of the original bond program. So that brings us to playgrounds. And so, of course, two of the projects in the 2020 bond was the new elementary Park Hill, and also renovating Woodgate to turn into Chapel Park Elementary. And both of those elementaries, of course, as we're renovating them, we budgeted for new playgrounds. And so they each have up-to-date, state-of-the-art, brand-new equipment, playgrounds, which are great and fantastic. That kind of highlighted, unfortunately, though, a disparity when you see these brand-new playgrounds and you look at some of our other campuses that are not up to par, not at that level. Historically, of course, when we build a new campus, it's included in the bond budget. But after that update to playgrounds, we don't really have a good systematic, consistent way of replacing them, upgrading them, or just kind of a long-term plan. We've had PTAs at some campuses help update or replace playgrounds. It's a little prohibitive now just because the cost of playgrounds are so high. It's hard for a PTA to really touch that. We've matched funds with PTAs before. But then there's inequity among campus PTAs. Some campuses can raise a lot more funds than other campuses. So it becomes a little difficult to just make things equitable. We're proposing to address this inequity and also allow for increased inclusion for students and just their varying needs and abilities. A lot of playgrounds were built, back when a lot of those accommodations were not really thought about or taken into account. And so we just would like to address the inequities and increase inclusion across all campuses, and regardless of what campus a student attends, that they would know, we're receiving a similar playground experience. So as I mentioned, we're really wanting to address the inequity and kind of bring everybody, to kind of a consistent level of what each elementary playground has. In the consent agenda, you'll see there's an item to approve the construction delivery method to construct playgrounds. And so what we decided to do, the best way to procure playgrounds was to do an interlocal agreement. So that way we can get multiple quotes from vendors that are on, say for instance, Buy Board, which is a purchasing co-op that we can purchase off of, and we can get we can have them come to our campuses, actually look at the playgrounds and give us a quote, rather than doing a hard bid, which is called a competitive seal proposal. So if you do a hard bid, you're kind of bound to what bids you get, and there can be a misinterpretation of our needs. And so we thought it best to just select at least 3 vendors from purchasing co-op and have them kind of come out so we can discuss with them our needs, and they can give us quotes as to how to bring the most equity in the playgrounds across the district. We did get an initial quote maybe last August or early fall, and this was really without a ton of input, I think, from our campuses. So it's going to kind of change a lot, and and that quote is, it was originally 1.7. They updated it now to 1.8 million. But we'll kind of get more input from principals. I've heard from some already that maybe said, yeah, that quote, we don't need all of that, or other principals saying that's not really going to address all of our needs. So we'll kind of have to adapt and modify that as we go. So that's really it. Like I said, we've got hopefully 5.7 million. We plan not to spend more than 2 million on the playground upgrades to the remaining 6 elementaries. But regardless of what quotes we get back or what recommendation we decide to go with, we'll bring back to the board for your approval as soon as we get that information ready to go.
Hey, is there a market for levelingly used low mileage playground equipment that we do have to sell to other schools or municipalities or
That's a good
churches?
question. I don't know the answer to that, but yeah, we can definitely explore that. And I would guess maybe some of these playground vendors may know some opportunities too. It's a good question.
Yeah. Wesley, assuming we approve tonight, when would we get started, and when do you expect we'd be done?
That's a good question. It's not a situation where we're in a jam. We got to get them all done this summer. That's just not realistic, I think, with the scope of all these projects and the timing of getting the work done. So if we have to kind of piecemeal it, maybe we can get some done in the summer, or maybe some done over Christmas, or kind of scatter it out. I think that's probably going to be the way we're going to have to do it.
Another thought too is building goodwill in the community. With our partner cities they all have parks and they all have stuff. If they could use that equipment too, that might be a good.
Mm-hmm. Good check with the city of Woodway or Hewitt. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, but some of their playgrounds are probably more dangerous than ours. So
maybe so.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know that at least 1 or 2 of ours were found to not have, wouldn't have passed code or anything, is the message at least that we heard a few months ago when we looked at those initial quotes. So I would hope that if we can move on this as quick as we can, because I know some of these schools have essentially been without usable playgrounds for most of the year already. So I'd hate for them to get into another year and still be going through that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was gonna ask you, is when you get the bids, are they gonna give you a a guideline with a timeline of when, the schedule, when what is gonna be completed, and so we'll know how long the school would be without a playground, and, you know, who's gonna go first, which one's the worst, that kind of thing.
They can also give us guidance on how quickly we can go. We're gonna go as fast as we can, and that was sort of our talk earlier anyway, and that's probably the reason we're trying to sort of talk through this tonight. But on some of our campuses, it might be very feasible that we have kids play. Most of our campuses have more than one playground, and like we might play them on one while we construct and then trade so that we can expedite the process. And so it would help us to get some input from whoever it is we use to do this work and how extensive it is. And so, but that's part of the reason that we would include those, like Wesley was saying earlier, talk to these campus principals and see if we can do some things creatively with how we move students around. I mean, we renovated an entire middle school with kids in it. I'm sure that we can find some strategies to try to get this going, so.
And we maybe could potentially even break up the bid, you know, maybe give half to one
Yeah,
bidder, if that speeds
good
things
idea.
up.
Yeah, if it's the same
That's
stuff.
true, have two
Yeah.
companies at the same time.
So also, as we look at this, I know when we say playgrounds, people tend to think of play structures and surfaces around there. I know some of the campuses, their needs may be more around the playground, a track area or something else. I mean, how broad of the scope are we looking at here? Are we really just thinking play structures to be consistent? Is that kind of our focus?
Yes, it's mainly play structures to be consistent. We're looking at equipment, you know, the rubber
Surface.
shades. Those are the main things. Now, I have talked to a couple campuses that maybe there were some things we were already kind of looking at doing, maybe repairing a track or
Track surface.
yeah, or something like that that we may be able to kind of do at the same time.
Okay.
I know we heard from a lot of our students earlier this year about how eager they were to see this done. Has there been, or will there be some kind of an on-ramp for student input, some way for the kids at each campus to have some design ownership, something that makes it special? I don't know what that would look like, but I would love to see some kind of student piece where, you know, we at Hewitt chose this, or.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I hadn't thought of that, but we could definitely explore.
Probably hard to go fast.
opportunities.
I was about to say, do you
Yeah.
want quick or do you want?
I would tend to err towards fast.
Maybe we could do something at the end when they're almost done that includes the students, like planning. I don't know, there aren't gonna be plans probably, but you know what I mean, at the very end, maybe the students could have a day where they go out and help.
Or if there's concrete
Put in
pads where we
something.
do handprints, or some, if we can just start thinking creatively of how each campus can personalize where the students feel like, yeah, this is my playground. So,
Okay.
I get what you're saying, I don't wanna monkey work the whole thing, but, it's always really neat when you feel like you've got some ownership in it, and whatever.
I get fed really good ideas while I'm sitting up here sometimes. And an area which we could theoretically get some help on that quickly is our Panther Kids program might be able to help us with that.
Okay.
So, Will, and Dr. Voigt is sitting in the back, she's hearing all this. We might be able to quickly, again, like if we're gonna have principals walk and look at some of this with us anyway, it's not that hard to roll in a couple third, fourth, and fifth graders. Let us go back to the drawing board and try and meet as many of the needs that have been voiced. We wanna be expeditious, but you know, would we have hundreds of kids involved? Probably not, but some key leaders, some of these kids who lead us in the pledge and that kind of thing, we can probably roll some of that student voice in
Even
somewhere.
just giving them a voice, we
Yeah.
may or may not be able to accommodate their
Sure.
suggestion, but.
It'll get them excited about it.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
could be
for
as
sure.
easy as picking the color of the tarps, you know?
That's
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, not, maybe
Sure.
not all the detailed equipment, but just, you know,
Right.
the color of the tarp.
And I would think
or-
a PTA member or two maybe in that conversation as well, because that would
Sure.
maybe give some broader input from
Yep.
students that aren't there. So, yeah, great.
Anytime we can get our community engaged in a community-wide project, I think is a good standard to hold to, if it's feasible.
Other comments, questions, folks?
So action is in the consent agenda on
Yes,
this?
sir.
All right.
Action is, one thing I would say about that input and everything is I think that's all great, but keeping in mind also a significant goal of this is to make sure that from campus to campus, the facilities are equitable. So, you know, we need to keep that in mind too as we move forward, because somebody might say, oh, we want this. Yeah, but, you know.
Well, that's what I was thinking, maybe the color.
Colors is a good one.
idea, you
Colors is a
They're
good
maybe-
one.
Even
they
the
might
color of
give
the
them
equipment, you know, the
options.
color of the equipment could be blue or red.
hand-
Here are
prints
your
and
5
concrete is a
choices
great
of the
idea,
one
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
guys
right.
I
pick
wouldn't
this, and
open
you
a
guys
can of
pick that.
worms. I would have it very limited and a one-time shoot.
What is it they say when you're raising children?
Touch
Give them
shop.
options, all of which you'd be happy with, and let them pick. One, 2 or 3.
A
Not
wide-
implying our kids are unruly, I'm just having a mom nostalgia.
It's like it was just Mother's Day or something.
Yeah, you think.
Could
Well,
have
I don't
been.
run by the side of the road.
Are you leading your children to
Right.
go dancing?
Could have been. All right, consent agenda. We have
Thank you,
minutes from
Wesley.
our special called meeting and regular meeting last month, a number of early graduation requests, our resolution on the hazardous traffic routes, and then approve the construction delivery method on the playground project we were just talking about. Anybody wish to remove any item from the consent agenda?
Can I ask a question, or do I need to remove it to ask a question about it? I'll just remove number 4.
Number
Do this
4,
the right
we'll
way.
remove. Do we have a motion then to approve 1, 2, 3, and 5 on the consent agenda?
So move.
Motion by Ms. Vick,
Second.
second by Ms. Watts. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Mr. Witt, your question, sir.
I just wanted to verify, I'm reading through it right now, the updates to the hazardous designations. I'd sent a note to, who did I send it to? Robert, yes, and to Dr. Allen, just because Panther Way was listed in a weird place, and I wasn't sure, and I think this is correct. Is that right? Are we good on this now? Do we update that?
Yes. No, I'm scrolling to it
This
to
is
make sure that
Alamosa now, which is what we wanted.
that's correct. We wanted
Okay.
Alamosa.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's,
good.
I'm glad you brought that up, because Robert, we had talked back in August about a tip. I think, that's been some months ago. You pointed out an area that was just on the margin. Is that being designated hazardous now? It is?
It's on page 47.
I don't know, but you had a lot to say about
Yeah.
it.
I knew I saw it highlighted, page 47.
Yeah.
It was in an odd place, like a little sliver of,
Yeah, this is area behind the IGA where there's really no way to walk unless you go along Hewitt Drive.
well,
So-
if you're happy,
Yeah, I think if you look at 47 and 48 in the packet, those in fact are yellow highlighted, I
Yeah.
think, so. yeah.
Those are the ones that were updated from
Right,
the original. Yeah,
right.
Cool.
thank you.
All right, so do we have a motion to approve number 4 on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Witt,
Second.
second by Mr. Green. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. And we don't need to take any action to hire personnel because you've got that authority delegated right now.
Yes, sir.
We need to go in closed session on personnel, I know, but we also need to take action regarding possibly rescinding the resignation. If nobody's got any questions on that, I will entertain a motion to approve rescinding that resignation of our teacher.
So moved?
Motion by Mr. Tullis,
Second.
second by Mr. Witt. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Superintendent's comments?
Okay, I have 2 things I'm going to try and do here fairly quickly. I'm going to give you the information I think you want, and then if you have any questions, all the people with the answers are sitting here. So graduation is the 26th of May at 8 p.m. at the stadium. Gates will open at 7. You should know, and I'm going to try and describe this, but if you don't know, catch me offline, okay? You've got VIP parking that's available to you. It's right outside the track. You're all nodding yes, you know where we're going. You will meet Miss Smith on the track near the photo tent, and then you'll be walked over to your spots where you will get to observe and be a member in our commencement activities. In the event of bad weather, our plan A is to delay until the weather blows away. And then if that doesn't work, we will delay until sometime on Saturday morning, relatively early, 9 or 10 or Saturday morning. If that doesn't work, Saturday night. And if that doesn't work, stay tuned. But we will just kind of figure out what happens at that point. We are graduating somewhere in the neighborhood of 625 students. So
It'll be quick.
that'll be exciting. I know we have a couple seniors who are graduating, who may or may not have a parent who's to my immediate right or left. You two are graduating a senior, yes?
I am.
Just you, okay. So you know the process for how to get up there and hand your student her.
I saw Brad do it last year, but we'll talk it through.
You run up there, you tackle Allison. Y'all can talk offline.
I can take her.
And you got a minute with the W's, so you'll be able to relax.
I got
but
plenty of time, I know.
you'll get up there, okay? And so make sure you take advantage of that. I know y'all know this because I've shared it with you before, but I just want to remind you one more time that though you will see me in a video presentation, it's unlikely I will be there in person that night. My senior is also graduating. Now the way the weather's going, someone will get delayed, and I'll make both. But if it's a pleasant evening, I will not be part of that. The other thing that I will mention is that we would want those who are listening to be monitoring communications from Ms. Smith and Ms. Marlin, because we're gonna tighten down security just a little bit on graduation this year. May have some detection devices that we're using. In addition to that, we may even limit the types of bags that we let into the event. More detail forthcoming, but we do want our folks to kind of be aware of the fact that we're going to take some positive steps to make sure that we have a good and safe event for all who participate. So more detail to come on that.
You gonna have an air horn detector?
Man, maybe, maybe.
Allison, you're gonna shake all of those hands by yourself?
Yes.
I know one she won't. I'll be
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
I got
However
one.
many minus one.
624.
Any questions on graduation?
What are we wearing?
Are we wearing robes?
No, we're not.
See how I tried to get past that?
You
I
did
didn't
what you
ask it
could.
this time. I say we wear robes.
It's gonna be hot.
Y'all shoot me down every time, just come on, don't be shy. Nobody else wants to do it but me.
We're gonna go
Pam.
beach casual.
I'm gonna be in a suit, so
You're gonna be in
robe's
a
better for me, because I don't have to wear a suit then.
That's right. Beach casual?
No,
I don't care. You know,
What's the administration, are y'all gonna, who else is gonna be on the stage besides?
I'm always outnumbered.
they're always in robes.
You're in a robe?
Yeah, they all wear their robes. I have that nice robe hanging in my closet.
I'd wear it with you if it weren't just the two of us.
Yeah, we could wear robes.
We could, and they can just wear it.
Mr. Tullis?
Thought about that.
You don't wanna wear a robe.
No,
No,
instead
I
of kids
I
wear
really
robes.
Wear a robe either.
Mr. Green, you have a view on this?
I would not pitch a
Not
fit
let.
if the consensus was to wear a robe. I would probably lean not to if it's my sole decision.
Who's got Alfred's phone number? Get that guy on the
He
phone.
texted me from,
He's
was
in
he in the
Mexico.
Mediterranean?
Yes,
Yeah, or somewhere?
Cabo.
He said no robes.
Did you ask him that? No.
We're coming on 8 o'clock right now, so.
Yeah.
Some year, well, my bet's on 8:05, so
Well,
I'm talking.
so tradition's important, and traditionally, we've never worn a robe outside.
That's a fair point.
True.
In the 3 years that we've had it outside.
That's 100%.
Do you wanna break tradition?
Well, we already broken tradition back.
I'm afraid if we say we're gonna wear robes, it's gonna rain
It's gonna
out.
rain.
Yeah, and, you know, I don't want
Ponchos,
to
you
jinx
could
it.
wear ponchos instead of robes.
I'll just wear a big tent dress instead of there.
I know the last time we had this conversation, I asked our high school principal if it would be pretty difficult to get us all in robes in time, and she said, yes, it probably would.
At this point, 7 days from now?
Right, so I think.
Well,
that
she needs to order for
settles it.
next year, whoever doesn't have a robe. I think you just need 2, I think the rest of us have our robes.
I will go out on a limb here and say, Ms. Vick, next year I will support you and be happy to wear a robe.
Oh.
Okay.
So nice, that's in the
And
minutes.
give us plenty of time.
I'd like to,
That's in the minutes.
I would like to
Everybody
rescind my
heard it. Scott is
nomination
your
for Ms. Messick as president.
That's got nothing to do with
Hey, Allison,
that.
get those
So the
robes.
only minutes under graduation are gonna be.
You can't even vote him off now, he's already been
Sure you
reelected.
can. You can reorganize the board at any time, Mr. Witt.
You Better
It's
tighten
true.
up, that's all I'm saying to you.
No robes.
No robes, no robes.
All right, legislative updates,
Yes,
sir.
here to here.
So this is interesting, and Wesley already talked about this a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna go through some things. If you have questions, feel free to ask them. The biggest newsmaker has been CSSB 8. Started out as Senate Bill 8. It became committee substitute for Senate Bill 8. That's the voucher bill.
Yep.
That, if you were to take the way it's currently written, could affect up to 800,000 students in the state of Texas. The original plan was to try and have that brought before the floor for vote without public comment, without public testimony. That was not allowed. There was invited testimony only on Monday, and at that point, that's where they left it. It is still in committee, waiting for what comes next. Wesley already mentioned that the governor has said that unless they bring him something that looks like the original Senate version, which would come closer to providing a voucher for the 5.5 million students of the state of Texas, that he won't sign it, he will veto it. So they're kind of at a bit of a stalemate right now, and it's hard to tell what's going to happen next. So we're watching that one to see what that does next. There are some other pieces of legislation floating around that you may be interested in, and I got this email like as of today. Senate Bill 418 would permit students to transfer to any public school that has capacity and would prohibit schools from charging tuition. So right now, schools can allow transfers or may not, and they can set criteria for accepting transfers. This would strip all of that away. The only criteria would be capacity. They've not defined what that means, by the way. So,
Whose brilliant idea was that?
well,
Where is that now?
that would be Paxton et al. And what I would tell you is,
Doggone it, Al.
the details are always where the rubber meets the road. Yes, sir?
Where is that bill now?
It is, let's see here, it was heard by the Public Education Committee today. We're really, that's a good question. I was gonna start this out, but I'll say it now. We're running out of time. Ish. I'll get back to the time that we actually have here in a minute. HB 699 by Frank this hasn't even been heard yet, but they're taking it up on Wednesday in committee. It would require the UIL to apply the same enrollment calculation formula to all schools, whether or not schools allowed non-enrolled students to participate in league activity when assigning league classification. It's a lot of words. There are a number of magnet schools in the state of Texas, both public, what they're talking about here is I think these public school magnet schools, you see them in Austin, you see them in Houston, we have some around here. And what the UIL requires them to do is play at the 6A level because those students are not bound by an attendance zone, okay? Well, what that does is it can put you in a situation where you have a school with 400 girls in it. I actually watched this happen in Austin when I was appealing our alignment one time. And it was a magnet school for leadership. It was 400 girls in the school. They made them play at the 6A level. And so it's essentially not competitive. So the state pushes public schools to try and be creative in what they do to reach children and create choice. We do that, and then you get penalized by the rules on the other side of the system. So this is actually, I think, probably not a bad piece of legislation. Not that you'll ask for my commentary, but if you're wondering what the background to it is, I think that's what it's all about. Okay? Yeah. What's also interesting is what's not happening. We don't have an appropriations bill yet.
There's not a budget, right?
We still have no idea what the budget for the state of Texas is. And as Mr. Witt mentioned, sign die is coming. The lieutenant governor in particular has been very clear on his willingness and desire to make sure we do not have a budget bill, therefore forcing a special session so that we can make sure that no one goes home until there's a voucher bill. So right now, we're in a pretty interesting stalemate between the people of the state of Texas and the people leading the state of Texas, and we'll see where that lands in the coming days. So when Mr. Brooks made his comment earlier that hopefully by the end of the month, we'll know where we're sitting on budget, he's more hopeful than I am. I don't think we're going to have any idea. And we may be well into September or later, frankly. So we're all waiting to see if leadership prevails.
I had a comment. Keep my mouth closed. Not on your information, but there are two organizations that I follow where I'm getting not just updates and emails and explanation, but here's your representative, click to to contact them.
Yes.
They are Texans for Strong Public Schools and Pastors for Texas Children. You may remember Dr. Johnson, who spoke here some years ago. And they are very well informed, very thorough, and very aligned with what we're wanting to do. And anyway, I would urge you to look those up and get on their mailing list, because my email box has been exploding every day, and usually I can, I can go in and click an email, and then thank you for Dr. Allen for sharing with us what you had said. Texans for Strong Public Schools and Pastors for Texas Children. I believe they're both on social media as well, and then TASB sends us stuff out as well, but they are lobbying hard to protect us from vouchers, and if that's the train you want to get on, that will keep you in the loop. Thank you, Dr. Allen.
You done?
I'm done.
Okay. Anybody else on the board have any comments, discussion they want to engage in on pending legislation? Yeah, I'll defer also. I think we all have our opinions. Some of you might have read some of them that,
There was the dairy bill that.
Yes.
Yeah,
that
the
you
water
might-
bill, yeah.
We, you guys, I signed on personally but you guys signed on officially for the community to back that bill. I don't know where it is right now,
Yeah.
but
I've heard about this a little bit, like even before you and I talked about the way it could affect our area.
yeah.
So,
Even Doc Anderson's, against the bill, which is shocking, so,
Yeah.
He wants to keep Waco's water clean.
well, water is a very, very
Yes.
important issue for the entire state, and obviously particularly for our community in light of that
Yeah.
potential act. So if nothing further on that, then much fast is that clock?
1 minute.
8:07.
It's not bad.
8:07, we're going to go into closed session under 551.074 of the Texas Government Code for a bit. I do not anticipate that there will be anything for the board to act on when we come out, and I think in all likelihood, we'll just come out and adjourn for those of you that are in attendance and might be wondering about that. So.
yes, sir.
They're gonna stay
Man, I know I was forgetting something.